Morning, everyone. This is Dr. Chris Myers. I'm coming to you with number 4 in our nutritional lecture series. And today we're going to cover the regulations that govern supplements. We're going to cover 4 main areas. The first is we're going to define what an ergogenic aid and a supplement is, the applicable U.S. laws, DoD regulations, and then we'll go over supplement classifications. So let's first define an ergogenic aid. We've heard about these. We utilize them every day. An ergogenic aid is any substance or mechanical aid or training method that includes sports performance. So, for example, what we do in with our training plans, which is a training methodology, that's considered an ergogenic aid. This also, when we look at cycling, for example, time trial bikes, when they have the aero bars or aerodynamic helmets, suits, those are ergogenic aids. But in this particular lecture, we're going to focus more on pharmacological aids or anything that you ingest. And now, under ergogenic aid, supplements are considered an ergogenic aid. And we can define a supplement as any product other than like tobacco that is intended to supplement diet. So what we mean is it's not food. It cannot be advertised as food or as an entire meal. And one commonality with all of our legal supplements is they're intended for ingestion. Now, one thing to note is before you start taking any type of nutritional supplement, do your research. And I'm going to try to give you some of the some good resources and some background information to help you make this type of information accessible and these decisions. So let's start talking about the laws that govern supplements. And I think I've mentioned this earlier, but let's rehash it a little bit more. Back in 1994, Congress passed under the Clinton administration the law termed as the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, also known as DSHA. And what DSHA did is it really defined what a dietary supplement is. Additionally, and probably the most important aspect of this law is on how the supplement industry is governed at this point. The bottom line, what it says, besides defining what a dietary supplement is that firms or the producers are responsible for evaluating the safety and labeling of the supplement products before they go to the market. So what this means is the FDA does not regulate supplements on a regular basis. It's on the firms. So for example, on nutrition, some of the other bodybuilding.com supplements, it is on them to ensure what goes in the product is properly labeled and legal. So it's not, supplements are not regulated by the FDA. I don't know how many times I can say that. Now, also under the DSHA Act, it defines what a supplement is, and the different categories of supplements typically contain the following. It's a vitamin, a mineral, a type of herb, amino acids like your BCAAs and stuff like that. Other substances used for dietary intake, of course, caloric intake, and also anything that consists of a metabolite, certain extracts, or any variation of what we've just been kind of talking about. And this list is ever evolving, so you need to keep up with the research to figure out what's a supplement, what is not. Other part of this too is you got to understand underneath the DSHA Act, they distinctly lay out the lines between the difference between a drug and a dietary supplement. When something is a drug, when it's classified as a drug, it falls under FDA approval guidelines for safety and effectiveness. So for example, with all the vaccines coming out for the COVID-19, they have to go through FDA approval. And that's why it typically takes years for vaccines to get approved, because they go under a rigorous standard of safety, effectiveness, and other background research. Whereas when it comes to supplements, according again to DSHA, they do not follow under this, because again, supplements, the way DSHA is written, says it's on the manufacturer to provide the information and ensure that a supplement is safe for ingestion and for use, and contains legal components. So keep that in mind. So when we start talking about DoD guidelines, for the most part, they follow the U.S. regulations. So almost anything that the DoD puts out, for the most part, falls in line with the DSHA Act and other supplementary guidelines on supplements. Now, the one big thing that DoD is really concerned about is this concept of efficacy and effectiveness. The efficacy is, does the substance do what it says it does? And the effectiveness means, how well does it do it? That's really what this comes down to. We can go on and on about this, but this really kind of covers the background. If you want more information on DoD guidelines, you can go to the following website at www.opss.org. And this website is consistently updated with up-to-date information, scientific research, and DoD guidance. Now, with all that being said, let's start getting into supplements themselves. And what I want to present to you is an easy way to kind of look and research at supplements. And because there's so many out there, we really don't know, it's really hard to kind of discern what's what. And so what I'm presenting to you is a four category system. It's called the ABCD supplement classification system. And you can find more information at it at AIS.gov. And AIS is the Australian Institute of Sport. They're one of the leading research authorities when it comes to nutritional research and supplementation research. And they've put out this easy to follow classification system. And this is one I follow, and this is the one I'll be presenting to you. Now, the best part about this classification system is it categorizes supplements into these categories based on scientific evidence, which is why that's highlighted in bold and underlined, and also practical considerations. And what they try to do is answer three basic questions. The first is the substance safe? Is it permitted in sport? And is there evidence that it actually works? And so when we start talking about these classifications, we'll start with Group A. Group A is the supplements that work. And what we mean by work is there's strong scientific evidence that shows that it works, they're legal, and there are specific protocols that help with increasing the effectiveness of these substances. And there's a couple of different categories, many that we know and we see every day. Sports foods. This includes sports drinks, sports bars, gels, electrolyte supplements. So for example, Gatorade products, science and sports products. We have several of them here like Cliff bars, stuff like that. And something else that we will talk about in the next lecture is protein, and in one of the upcoming lectures is protein supplementation. And we know that this works, and that's why we'll get into it. The next is medical supplements. And this includes iron, calcium, multivitamins, stuff like that. When you take your Flintstone vitamins, that hits a lot of this already. And performance supplements. And this list is most likely going to cover everything that we will get into in depth with the nutritional series. And the first one will be beta-alanine and sodium bicarbonate. These will deal with with pH buffering and a lot of your high intensity work. Next is creatine. This covers supplementation in the phosphates pathway. We've discussed that briefly in a previous lecture. We'll get into a little bit more later on. And finally, nitrates. So nitrates help with vasodilation and increased blood flow. So in this classification, there are five supplements that we will definitely touch on: protein, beta-alanine and sodium bicarbonate, creatine, and nitrates. Realize that's out of all of the supplements that are on the market, we will really only cover 5 because these are the ones that science has shown that will actually work and that will actually and give what it says it will do. And plus, they're safe. The next group is Group B. And basically what this says is there's emerging scientific support that these supplements may work, but more evidence is needed. And also, when you're utilizing this type of supplements based on the research, you really need to look at the protocols that are used. So they're in here, but they're still emerging per se. The first one is polyphenols. And polyphenols they fall into kind of this grouping of antioxidants, which is here as well. And what polyphenols and antioxidants do is they scavenge free radicals. We will get into that down the road later on, what all that means. The second is tastants. This is something that you can use as a mouth rinse that can help trick the nervous system against fatigue and make you feel better, stuff like that. The next is just others. This is your collagen support, fish oils, carnitine, curcumin, ketones, and cysteines. We will cover, if upon request, carnitine and ketone supplements. I have a couple of people asking about that. If we have time, we will get into more of these. Class C. And so as you see, as we're moving on down the classifications, we're going from well supported, slightly supported. Now we're getting into Class C where they're not really supported, or scientific research shows that they don't work at all. And so that's what we're saying. And what you'll find is some of these supplements here in Class C were originally in Class B a couple of years ago, but as more and more scientific evidence has come forth, they've been shifted to show that they really don't work. And some of these are going to surprise you. So for example, your BCAAs and L-leucine, those are not really showing to give much benefit, if any at all. They definitely don't hurt, but they're not really shown to work. And also HMB. This was a big one in the early 2000s, with a lot of promising research in animal models, but as they started moving towards human research, they're really showing that's not working. And finally, prebiotics. This was a big one. Now, don't confuse prebiotics with probiotics. They're completely two different classifications. Probiotics do fall into Class A and Class B, and they do show to work. Prebiotics are not really shown to work so much. And finally, we're moving into Group D. These are your illegal stuff. These are completely banned, no matter what organization you're talking to, whether it's DoD, WADA, professional sports, amateur sports. Just stay away from these. And this is not an all-inclusive list, but a lot of that fall in here are your stimulants, your pro-hormone and hormone boosters, your growth hormone, your peptides, beta-2 agonists, SARMs. I've had a lot of you ask me about SARMs. Sorry, they fall into this category. Stay away from them. Metabolic modulators, anything that deals with insulin, insulin peptides, stuff like that. And so these are just 6 quick general classifications. There's more that falls under this list. I strongly suggest before you take a supplement, go to this website, www.wada-ama.org. The WADA is the World Anti-Doping Association. So they govern all supplements within the world of sport, and DoD follows it. It's just the way it all branches, the way the US government is set up with the IOC and all that. So if it's on the WADA prohibited list, don't take it. Stay away from it. That means it's illegal. Bottom line. So this has been a kind of a quick lecture on the laws and regulations, but they're pretty straightforward. So we define what an ergogenic aid is and what supplements are. We talked about the applicable laws, the DSHA law of 1994, and pertinent DoD regulations, and provided you different classifications of supplements. Again, the four category classification. Group A is the supplements that are scientifically proven to work, and that includes 5 different ones: protein, monohydrate or isolate proteins, beta alanine, sodium bicarbonate, nitrates, and creatine. And then finally, the resources you can find this information. The resources provided throughout the lecture. Again, the first one was OPSS, that's the DoD one. AIS, Australian Institute of Sport. You can find those hyperlinks down at the bottom of each slide, and also the wada-ama.org website. Those are your big ones to find more information on supplements. This lays the groundwork for the next section of the nutrition lecture series. We're going to start getting into the 5 different supplements that fall under the Group A, and explain on how to use them and best use them in your training plans. Thank you for your time. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.